No.
Fuori Marchellini, può iniziare dentro, Tevez sta solo, Tevez all'interno dell'area, fa fuori tutti, Tevez, si apre la porta, Tevez, dai, da dietro, Pirlo dentro,
Wow, what a start. A little off. I'm a little rusty in the off season. So this one's on me. Look at the chat. Giving it to Lucci.
Just get
right,
hammered right now.
Time.
What's up, boys?
Lucci was good to go.
Jeez, Alex, leave me alone.
Oh, man. All right.
I had to do my hair, so.
Let's go.
Sorry,
Let's get
guys.
ready for this. Mercato Madness. We had Di Maria Day. Today's going to be Pogba Day. I got the old school kit with the Pogba on the back. 6. I never grabbed a Pogba 10, though. So I don't know. Do I grab a Pogba 10 for the collection this year? I don't know.
Have to.
Di Maria. Who's grabbing a Di Maria 22 kit? I don't know. For 1 year? You grab a Di Maria kit. It's a tough sell. Wouldn't mind a Zaniolo or a Koulibaly Juve kit.
Zaniolo for sure.
Or a Bremer. Let's see what happens. Got the live popping off here. Is anyone else concerned about this deluxe? Mark,
right out the gate.
Pump the brakes, man. Pump the
right
brakes. He wants to hit the Delict thing right out of the gate here. Oh, I don't think Bremer or Koulibaly are coming. I can't watch Rugani play in meaningful games.
Yeah.
Well, we got a lot to discuss. Obviously, we got Di Maria getting in. And I think it was funny. We were talking about this before and just saying, man, you almost wish they would have given a little bit of a break. Just kind of did Di Maria maybe a little bit dirty, too close to Pogba, because the second Pogba arrives, almost overshadowed Di Maria, but Di Maria is a massive signing in terms of this Mercato for Juventus, and I don't think it can be overlooked. We were talking about impacts and whatnot, and let's just get to Di Maria first. And what kind of impact do you guys see him making to this Juve squad this year? Because before he actually got yesterday, it's just that excitement of a fresh face, a new player and whatnot. And before it actually got to that point, there was a lot of skepticism about signing Di Maria, being 34 years old, going on 35 last year, really for him to make a run because he wants to be in that World Cup. And, these mercenary type signings. How big of an impact do you guys think Di Maria makes to this Juve squad? And whoever wants to kick this one off.
Me? Okay.
Go ahead, Joey.
All right. So what kind of impact is Di Maria going to have? So I remember when I first saw him playing at Benfica, I was like, this young kid, he's really got something. And it turns out he did. He's been winning ever since. He has an amazing career so far, and now he's ended up at Juve. What does he bring to the table? He's a fantastic dribbler. Guy can score from pretty much anywhere. He scores bangers. And he still sure, he's on the downturn in terms of athleticism, but he's quick. He's still pretty quick. I think that he is a real, a true winger. And that's something that we were really lacking with the absence of Chiesa last season. So I think that he certainly makes up for that. Once Chiesa comes back, we'll be pretty good. But that trident of Chiesa, Vlahovic, Di Maria, that sounds pretty good to me. So I think that he will be more than welcome here.
Oh yeah, absolutely, Luch.
He's gonna dominate these defenders. I don't know. I'm not concerned at all. The guy he's got pace, he's got skill, he's got talent, and now Vlahovic is finally gonna get some real service. Between him and Chiesa and maybe Zaniolo and Pogba, we're finally going to see some real talent playing with Vlahovic, because last year, at least we all saw it, he was playing on an island by himself with 7 defenders on him. So I'm not concerned about Di Maria. I know, unfortunately, it's only 1 year, but I think that's better, for the stopgap that we need, because we need to fill so many other areas. It's a great signing, not too expensive salary wise either. I have no issues with it at all. I'm glad he's here.
Yeah, the salary was just a nice little cherry on top when you figure out that it's like 5.5 basically, with some bonuses that are appearance and performance related, which is fantastic. For me, is like said this with Di Maria, it was so good for so many reasons. The other thing is you don't touch your transfer budget. Okay, so the salary's covered easily by the guys that were outgoing, and you haven't touched your transfer budget with Pogba or Di Maria, and both salaries essentially covered, which is massive, massive. But Di Maria, he's one of those guys that, age aside, the quality itself just speaks volumes, and it's one of those things that no matter the age, there's something exciting about him coming because you know what he's capable of. All the things Joe mentioned about the goal scoring, the playmaking abilities, the assists that can come in, and he should be massive, especially for a team that lacked so much on one entire side of the pitch. He all of a sudden takes care of a lot on that left side, and when Keys comes back, both of those guys can switch easily switch, which obviously gives us even more versatility and flexibility. So massive one there. Pogba. It's Pogba day, boys. Pogba finally back. All those years of hearing the rumors almost every summer, like, oh, Juve wants Pogba back. Juve wants Pogba back. When it's here. It's here. How do you guys feel about it now? Because there's still that big question. Is Pogba enough for the middle of the pitch for this Juventus?
You first, Lucci.
Okay. The Pogba signing helps the midfield create, like, unbelievably. Do I think it's enough for the midfield? I think it's enough for this year because we need to focus on other areas like I mentioned before. So I wouldn't be surprised if the midfield doesn't get touched. I know there's talk of Paredes and whatever, maybe some smaller signings, but when you got all these youngsters, why do you want to bring in someone who's average? My main concern with Pogba is going to be him staying fit. And I know you guys share the same concerns, but as long as he can stay fit and he plays, I don't expect him to play every game, of course not, but as long as he's around for the majority of the season when we need him, unlike, certain other number 10s and superstars, which we have had, he'll be a great addition. Talent, skill, can score bangers, as Joe likes to say. Let's go, man. I'm excited already, and I'm sure there will be more signings, but we're heading in the right direction for sure.
Absolutely. Joe, so first, we might have to address something here. There's Luca's appreciating the shine coming off the top today. I think Rob's asking if there was a fresh buff.
Yep, there was a fresh buff. You got to keep the dome nice and polished. Otherwise, what's the point? But back to the issue at hand, which is Pogba. I will admit, and you can go back to previous episodes of this show and clip it, whatever you want. I was one of the naysayers who wasn't totally jazzed about getting linked with Pogba again. But now that it's finally happened, I can't help but be at least somewhat hyped. I'm hyped for it. I think that he definitely moves the midfield, the needle in the right direction. Is he enough for the midfield? Probably not. But as the Mercato starts to evolve and other things are, the other wheels start turning, I feel like the midfield is less and less the problem issue going forward. And I think that we're going to talk about the real issue now, which I think will be the defense. So I'm excited. I can't not be excited. Just going through all the old clips of Pogba when he was with us from 2012, he evolved into a world beater. So yeah, I'm hoping that we get that Pogba back. So
yeah, he's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a little bit different, no doubt. His game's changed a bit, but I want the France Pogba. I want that
Mhm.
midfielder that you got, and that's going to
That
make a big.
midfielder.
It's going to make a big difference. But yeah, you guys are right. It's all around. It's all around. But it's funny how 2 moves, just like that quickly can change the scope of an entire team's outlook, because it really does.
Mhm.
And I mean, not touching that transfer budget, we've got a situation with De Ligt, which we are going to get into. But fullbacks is going to be a bit of a scenario that Juve might have to address. And the talks have continued now again, picking up with Molina in terms of if this De Ligt sale goes through, they can maybe make another push for that. Udinese's asking quite a bit in 30 million, in my opinion, for Molina. 15 is what Juventus apparently reportedly offered. Whatnot. We'll see if they come up, if they get that De Ligt money. Big if, because of what happens there. But I want to touch on a few things, because you almost got mixed reviews from Juventini, because Adam Esch is saying Pogba's already the best midfielder in Serie A. Lucci? Joe?
I think he's probably top 5 when he's healthy. I don't know about maybe top 3, maybe, but I don't know. I'm a big SMS fan. You know that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bar none, Milinkovic-Savic is the best midfielder.
I say we don't sign any midfielder. We go after SMS next summer for free.
I think they're different style game breakers. And if I had to say, I might actually go out and say Pogba's more of a game breaker than Savic. If you take both guys healthy, I think Pogba's a bigger game breaker than Savic, because Savic doesn't have the ability to break a game wide open from a play in his own end.
That's
which
fair.
Pogba can do with one ball. Pogba's passing range is actually disgusting.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
I do agree with that, but what I'm going to say is that if you look at where Pogba like kind of started, like when Allegri first moved him to like that, that left side, and was like, here, just do whatever you want on the left-hand side.
Mm-hmm.
That is more similar to where Savic is now, like that kind of midfielder, as opposed to what Pogba is now, where Pogba is a little bit more of the playmaker kind of guy. But yeah, I mean, both on their day, fantastic midfielders. But for me, Savic just right now, Savic is just unreal.
Someone raised a good point the other day, though. Savic is going to be 28, I believe. Hardly played Champions League. Is used to playing once or twice a week here or there. Like, do we overvalue him because he's only playing Serie A? Maybe. We don't know what he's like when he's playing Champions League. And it's a good good point. When you think of it that way, it's true. He should have moved already. He's already, in his late 20s. Yes, it's prime years, or probably now, but he can't stay there if he wants to be one of the best midfielders in the in the world right now. So
tell that to Jerry.
Well, Jerry's got his head up.
We don't need to worry about
where where. So
we don't need to worry about Jerry. There was another comment here about Pogba. I'm trying to find it from Mark B. He's basically essentially saying he's a little concerned about Pogba. Something about this Pogba doesn't excite me as much. Not sure if he has become too much of a me guy. So is Pogba too much in it for himself? So there's no doubt about it. Pogba markets his brand heavily. He's got his own line with Adidas. Okay, everybody's seen all that stuff. His own brand of cleats, like all that stuff. He's all about the marketing, the Pogmentary, and the way they pushed it, and then saying there was going to be this reveal of the team. Like, this guy, he's grown up in the Raiola company and whatnot. He knows what he's doing. He runs his brand and he knows what he's doing. Does that take anything away from what we should expect on the pitch? Is he too much of a me guy? Does his experience, his time at Man U, change anything that we feel and add to some of those concerns aside from health issue?
I think his confidence might be a little shot compared to when he left.
Really?
He had a rough couple years at Man U. The fans were hating on him hard.
Yeah.
Well, you also got to remember Mourinho was his coach too.
Yeah, there was a lot there between Mourinho and
there was
Paul.
bad blood between the two of them.
Good
so
point.
like
because that's
why
where
I
it kicked
also-
off.
Yeah.
that
and
is
then
definitely
Paul
where it
wanted out.
kicked off.
And then there was a carousel of managers coming in and out of there, and it always shifted and whatnot. It's a real tough time to gauge Paul Pogba, that Man U stint. A very, very tough. Like, who would have guessed after the Mourinho scenario that he would have actually run his contract out at Man U? I would have never guessed that, based on being a couple seasons in there.
Right.
I would have
he
never
left.
said this guy's finishing up his tenure there and going to be going for free. Would have never guessed that, right? So it's a tough thing to gauge. I still say the quality, and like we're reading here with everybody in the live here, the quality's still there, man. And as long as he's fit and in the lineup, he's a big, big help for the middle of the park. And he's that guy that when you look across, if you're seeing Locatelli, if we're going to integrate guys like Fagioli or maybe Rovella and whatnot, you need a guy like Paul in there that's been there, that's done that can kind of just grab the bull by the horn, so to speak. Because even Locatelli is not like, they need a general. They need a guy that they can lean on, that can break games open, which he can. So it's big. Di Maria, will he have a bigger impact than Pogba though? Now that we've talking about both these guys, who's going to have the bigger impact on this season out of those two?
That's tough.
Let's see everybody in the live too and what they think. Out of those two signings, who's going to have the bigger impact on this Juve season, Paul or Angel?
It's tough to go against Pogba, man. I don't know. But
Jeremiah is coming up.
I saw
guys. Trust me, Pogba will lead us to Champions League.
Can we
glory.
talk about
Give
this?
him 2 seasons.
Woo! Woo! That's optimism at its greatest right there.
I love
Jeremiah.
Jesus.
Madonna, that must be good espresso today.
What's in that espresso?
So we got some people coming in here. Di Maria from Deepa saying he's going to have the bigger impact. Lorenzo, because of our middle of the pitch. So he calls Pogba being the bigger impact. Kamal, because Pogba wants to show United. Good point. Yeah. Chip on his shoulder. Lucci kind of alluded to that as well. So, Di Maria from Lou. This is interesting. B1897. Di Maria will have bigger impact as he can really improve Vlahovic and Chiesa.
Good point there too.
Who's going to unlock these guys more? This is interesting.
There's no wrong answer. There's really no wrong answer.
Well, I think this just shines a light on how big these two moves were, because you've got a mix back and forth of who's going to do what. I think they're both going to help Vlahovic tremendously and just everywhere. Again, it's all about getting that balance across the pitch. How many times did we go into matches last season, look at that lineup and say, man, this left side's going to suffer? It's
every week.
all about creating that balance. This was a massive, massive start to the Mercato with these two. Obviously, we got Zaniolo in the hopper. So the latest news was that Roma has lowered to around 40. Good. Okay. Roughly around 40, maybe a little bit over 45. Loan plus obligation. They said no to Artur. We might still say, here, take him anyways. We don't really know. But they've said no to Artur. They have lowered apparently to 40, 45. Talks ongoing. This was coming from Nico Skira, who is on fire this Mercato, has to be said. I think if I had to rank amongst the top so far this Mercato, Skira and Mirko Di Natale have almost been in sync, but Skira right now is tops right now. So great news there on the Zaniolo front. We wait for this guy. That's another massive one. So my question is a hypothetical now. If we get Zaniolo as well, can Paul Pogba, in your personal opinion, play a double pivot with another midfielder we have? And can we do a 4-2-3-1 if Zaniolo's brought in? Or would you rather go 4-3-3 and just utilize Zaniolo as one of our wings?
But then,
and I've seen some analysis on Zaniolo through some the accounts that do tactical breakdowns and whatnot. And they say, based on his abilities, right wing with freedom is essentially his best role. Now, this is just a hypothetical and a preference for you guys.
Yeah.
4-2-3-1. If Zaniolo comes in, do you believe Pogba could play that double pivot? Because a lot of these fantasy lineups Juventini have out there show a double pivot. I don't think I'd go double pivot personally.
I'm just trying to get into Allegri's head on this one too. But
Alex says Zaniolo on the wing for me. I'm with Alex P. We've been agreeing a lot lately, Alex. We've been agreeing a lot.
It's not a good thing.
I don't know if that's a good thing.
That's a great thing, Alex. Don't listen to these freaking guys. Come on. Great thing. Great thing. Always stick with the gaffer. Let's go.
I do agree with that. Zaniolo on the wing seems to be his best
it's the thing
position for sure.
I think if you sort out who that fullback is, and you'd almost have to recreate that Azzurri 4-3-3 where Spinazzola was the one that offered Insigne the creative freedom. We'd have to do the same thing
Overloaded
with Zaniolo.
That side.
You can't have Zaniolo just strictly wing player.
No.
He'd have to have that freedom.
Yeah.
So you have to figure out who that fullback is behind him. But I think that's the way to go because I don't know about a double pivot.
No,
I think he can. I think Pogba could. I just don't know if we have the other aside from Locatelli. I don't know if we have the other personnel. Maybe Zakaria, but it's not. I don't think that's ideal.
I think it's ideal if Pogba's not playing.
So 4-2-3-1 when Pogba's not in the line.
Well, once
I think it could work. It could work, but I don't think that's the optimum.
I think if you're playing Zakaria and Locatelli, I think that would be a good double pivot. Pogba makes me a little concerned because we know how involved he likes to get forward wise. But when you have the likes of Zaniolo, potentially Di Maria and Chiesa, like how could you not want to play all three of them behind Vlahovic? Like that's disgusting.
I hate to be a downer here on this though. Allegri doesn't like wingers. He really doesn't like true wingers. Let's look.
But that's the thing. Zaniolo's not a real winger though.
He's not a real winger. But now we have Di Maria and Chiesa. I don't know if we're gonna be unlocking their full potential with Allegri tactics, unless something drastically changes.
The Allegri drama already. We haven't even started the season.
I'm just saying. Let's look at past history here. It's not difficult.
Okay. And before we get to the big Delic thing, okay? Real quick, reminder, everybody, like this video. Let's get it. Maximum likes, okay? Everybody that's in the live right now, take the second, hit that thumbs up. Subscribe, too, if you haven't already. And if you feel like supporting the channel, obviously we got Super Chat enabled. Or check out stripedheartsapparel.com and grab some awesome custom UV merch. Now, guys.
Wait. Can we look at Luca's comment? Zaniolo is like Kulu. Someone smack this kid.
There's just no helping some people, unfortunately.
Luca, what the hell, man?
It's like 9 a.m. there, Luca. There's no excuse for this stuff.
What a cranky boy.
Like
he's always grumpy.
It's 6 a.m. for me. It's 9 a.m. for you.
Jesus. Anyways, no more negativity. Sorry, I'll carry on. Just that I almost fell off my chair.
Luca, why?
He's not helping himself either.
what? All I could think of is, why are you the way you are? Madonna. Okay, back to it. Real quick, I did have a question before Luca just absolutely blows my mind with some of these comments. I had a good one, too, in regards to Pogba. But I'll just switch it up to a fun one. Does Pogba finally beat Allegri in a friggin' competition this year? What, did he lose to him in the long ball range into the net in the practice? He lost the basketball competition. Allegri's just owned him. That's maybe part of Paul coming back, too, is to actually win something. Does he win something against the Mister this year?
No, I don't think so. I think
Allegri still beats him?
I think Allegri
Paul's got to win something. Come on. Lorenzo's saying no.
I kind of agree.
Just
Yeah.
ego will continue to be crushed by Allegri. Oh man. Little side bets on that one. Side bets on that one through the season. I think Paul finally gets one on Allegri. Okay. Let's get into this De Ligt scenario, okay? So this is the one. This is the big one. Everybody's getting into this. So basically, today the reports are that yesterday you were having reports that Bayern was going to up the bid. Okay, so they were going to get up there to somewhere around 80 and 10 in bonuses. Obviously, it's not said what the bonuses were. This is better than the original, which was, somewhere around 70 with 15 in bonuses. You want to lower that bonus thing because it may not be a guarantee, right?
Mm-hmm.
So 80 plus 10. Now, that's getting very, very close to the number that Juve said is it. 90 being it. Has to be around 90. So much, much closer. Today being reported that Arrivabene and Cherubini have told De Ligt, regardless of his agreement with Bayern, taking him to 2027 with them at 12 million a season, that I know. But they said if they do not get the replacements, okay, that are satisfying to them, they aren't moving them. So you have a scenario where, and this is exactly it. This is what we've been saying, is that Juve's in the driver's seat. Things change after this season. So his contract runs out in June of 2024. So beyond this season, there's a whole nother season. If we wanted to, we can keep him. The next summer would be the crucial one, because if you can't find a deal for him that summer, he enters his final season and then could be a free signing in June 2024. So as for this season going, and it's one of those things, damned if you do, damned if you don't type of scenarios, because I like the fact that they're sticking to their guns. I like that. You've got your price tag and you're not going to budge. I don't care who comes knocking. Bayern, good for you. You've got money. Pay up. You want it? Pay up. I do like the fact, though, that they're not going to do it even if they hit that, just because they can't find the sufficient replacement. It's going to be up to De Ligt to carry on his professionalism if he stays. This is one of those scenarios where it's tough to say, like, this guy, he wants out. It's been reports, been like aggressive, came out and said it is 100% coming from De Ligt and his camp to move on. So Juve's always been steady. Like, we want to renew. De Ligt wants out. It's tough to say, yeah, you want to keep a guy that doesn't want to be there. However, what's worse in this particular scenario, if you look at this Juve squad, we can't afford to let this guy go if it isn't one of Koulibaly or Bremer coming back, in my personal opinion. What do you guys think on this scenario? It's a tough one to say that this guy wants out, but man, we got to keep him here. But that might be the play. What do you guys think?
That's the thing, though.
I don't know.
You first, Luch.
I kind of disagree, to be honest. I think if you're getting that 90, he's got to go, because think of it this way: Koulibaly and Bremer, let's be realistic, probably not going to come this year. Definitely won't come next year. So what's the difference between doing it now and doing it next season, when you're going to get even less money and your options are going to be very much the same? So for me, if you get the 90, you invest in 2 CBs instead of just one, and but the problem is who? Akanji. They're talking about Kimpembe from PSG. Okay, not like, both of them are not the quality of De Ligt, but you're filling it with quantity instead of quality, and that's going to happen regardless, because you're not going to be able to replace a player like De Ligt. So you got to get as much money as you can. Next year, next year you're going to get less. The year after, you're going to get nothing, because
you get less, but your capital goes up because you're another year prorated.
True.
Yeah.
True.
You amortize that value.
But then again, what are your options next year? The same options you have this year.
Maybe,
perhaps.
but maybe not. Because again, every year teams get into this same contract scenario. Roma's in this contract scenario with Zaniolo.
Yes.
because after this year, they go into a final year of his term.
Right.
So every year there's this evolving wheel and carousel where these players just come up and it's like make or break time. And it's all about waiting to see if these teams are actually renewing these players. So we're in that scenario now with De Ligt. It's a tough one. I get what you're saying. Like,
it is tough.
Take the max amount of capital right now. But man, do we want to wait? Does that now all of a sudden nullify some of these great additions and moves we're making amongst the team just to make this big sale now if we don't have a top tier center back coming back? Because who are we realistically looking at if it's not Koulibaly or Bremer? Milenkovic is like a name that's out there. No. Nobody's touching a Cherby, okay?
Forget that. Please, God, don't need.
So, let's not even talk about that. This Gabriel from Arsenal, that's not going to cut it.
I like Akanji. Is he MDL? But he's not.
I like Badiashile.
I get what you're saying on the capital, but that's a tough call, man. That's a tough call. So here's another scenario. We get him to stay. We don't take the deal because we don't have the proper coverage. Mm-hmm. What if the team kicks off based on the rest of the work done, and all of a sudden you can maybe change his mind? And maybe he renews because all of a sudden this project is reignited.
I hate your scenarios, Al.
I just don't see him re-signing now, especially after he's saying he's 100% agreed with Bayern and he wants to leave. I don't know. You look.
Is there a chance if this team turns things around and gets this positive? It was reported in January when this whole renewal thing was kind of coming up and they were looking at this, that De Ligt was pumped on their January window with just Zakaria and Vlahovic. You just brought Pogba and Di Maria in. There's still talks of Zaniolo, potentially even a fullback. Like it's weird. This is why, even though I bring up that scenario, I think there's more to it than the project for De Ligt to want out.
Oh, certainly.
So this is my whole thing, and everybody's kind of coming in alive and having all their says and whatnot. I think there's a lot more to it. That for him to just want out like this than just the project, because it's been too short a period with Cherubini and Arriva Bene. They haven't set a foot wrong. So for De Ligt, he was pumped in January. How's he not pumped right now? I think there's more to it.
Probably
more to it.
But how much does the raise he's going to get if he joins Bayern plays a role in his decision?
How much? What? Sorry?
Like the raise he's about to get. Like they offered him 12 mil plus bonuses or something. Like, and they're paying him, I think 8 to 10 or whatever it is. So like, how much is the money going to play a role in him wanting to leave, or is it just because he wants to play for Bayern? Like, there's so many different aspects that you don't know what's going through his head. Even if you factor
the two, we have to be honest with ourselves. Bayern's a much more established.
Yes,
they're much more established right now at the moment.
You're playing for Bayern. I mean, you're getting more money.
Look at when the deal came up. If you're looking at Chelsea, I said it with Chelsea. I said I don't want any of their players. I don't care who it is. Like, full cash. All of a sudden, Bayern gets involved. I think it's harder to find a player I wouldn't want in a deal for De Ligt.
Yep.
That tells you a lot about the state of where the clubs are. Probably the only one that was rumored is the one I didn't want, which was Pavard. But
right. Same.
There's a lot going on there, but this is a tough spot. And you can see it in everybody's feelings that is, back and forth there on this De Ligt thing. Like, you have people on both sides of the fence here. Sell them. Take the massive amount of capital right now. And then the others that are saying we can't leave that short at center back. And I'm
in that camp.
So one of the other things that came up in one of our YouTube videos was saying, if you're going to do it, you're not going to get one of the big guys. Koulibaly's still a big question mark. Mm-hmm. The biggest question mark there is he going to betray Napoli? Mm-hmm. That's what it comes down to. Because he does have Chelsea and apparently Barca signed Christensen, though, which I think was a big mistake. But regardless, They signed Christensen. So apparently those two teams are the teams in for Koulibaly aside from Juventus. There's so many questions here. Ramadani, who's Koulibaly's agent, also represents Milinkovic. Was this last meeting, in fact, for Koulibaly, or was it Milinkovic?
Probably both.
Could it be both? I think it's both.
I'm sure
Then the
that both
question
were
comes
mentioned.
up. Would they waste their time hearing Juve's offer for Koulibaly if Koulibaly didn't have some type of intention about potentially accepting the move to Juve?
You don't think he used that as leverage to get ADL to give him a decent offer, or showing that he's really interested in leaving? I think
Turned
anyone
down
would do
Napoli's offer, though.
that, which showing he wants to leave. Maybe he doesn't want to leave for Juve, but it shows that he wants to leave.
So why use, like, I think the leverage thing's out of the question because he's not accepting Napoli's renewal.
Or maybe he's not accepting because he wants more money. What did they
Like-
offer him? Like 6 or something? And he's making, like, didn't they give him a decrease in salary? Wasn't that what was reported?
I think it was the
I
same.
think so.
What
It
I
might have
saw
been
for the
same, no
report was
increase.
level at what he was at. And I
Okay.
think Juve's offer to him was actually slightly more.
Yes, I
So
believe
the
so.
salary he'd be getting at Juve was slightly more. It still comes down, any way you slice it. Like, he's got to betray Napoli.
I just don't see it happening.
Mhm.
As much as I would be fine with it happening, I just don't. Just because, like, all
The
the
one
six
thing,
could
the
Napoli
one
fans go
thing
crazy.
that I think makes me just have this slight bit of hope is that maybe Koulibaly's not feeling the love coming from the club and ADL in terms of this moment now, and might say, no problem, De Laurentiis, I'm going to go to Juve. Oh, how I'd love that one.
You
Ooh,
are-
and boys, do I have
It's-
receipts. Oh, do I have receipts.
Oh, man.
Just
The
fans
slimmest
will
of
go
chances that
nuts.
could happen. Like maybe 20 years ago, I feel like this could be an easy call to make because players were different
Mhm.
back then. Like they had a little bit more club loyalty, you know. So like if this happened 20 years ago, I'd be like, Koulibaly's going to Chelsea. But nowadays, that it's not the same. So
yeah.
there's certainly it's a possibility. It's a possibility. I'm just wondering what kind of offer that Napoli would want. The most ridiculous offer for Koulibaly. That's the only thing. It'd be like trying to negotiate with Lotito. You know, there's a price
That's
for
a
everyone
concern
else,
too.
and then there's the Juve price. So
Someone
That's
get
what you get.
that to call Koulibaly. Let's go. Let's go. So
yeah, that's right.
here's the thing. Bottom line. Everything we've discussed, everything we've gone over. Bayern meets our demands. Say Koulibaly, Bremer, those guys are out the window. Yes or no from you, do you pull the trigger on the deal? We're going to start with Joe. They've met our demands, but it's not going to be Koulibaly or Bremer.
Do we get a player?
We were talking about this
player
earlier.
with the cash.
No player. You get
No
the money.
player, strict cash. That doesn't sit right with me because you gotta have a
So
replacement
Joe's no.
lined up. No,
Joe's a no. Lucci, no player involved. They've met your demands financially. It's not going to be Koulibaly or Bremer. Is it a yes or no?
Oh man, it's so tough.
That's the only questions we ask here. Let's go.
that's why I
Yeah,
asked if we could get.
that's
a
why
player with-
that's why we're the best. Yeah, I'm still on the yes train. I'm sorry. You got to do it. You got to
It's
do
not
it.
like no wrong answers. There are
I see-
no wrong answers.
Joe and I were talking about this earlier, taking cash plus Lucas Hernandez, although that's not an option in this scenario. You could sign 2 solid center backs and even Molina if you wanted to with that money. I just think, and then, once if you ship out Artur and whoever else, like that's more money coming in. You'll have so much money to revamp the whole starting 11. That'll give Allegri the player he wants, and then he'll have no excuses not to do terribly. So whatever.
Well, you're not necessarily going to have so much money.
You are
You're
90
not though.
90
Because
mil
90
is
million, that's 50 in capital, man. You still have to, you're still responsible for that prorated money. So the money he
Yeah.
stands us is still 40.
true.
So
And
it's
it's
not
probably
like
90
this,
million
like
over
all of a
4
sudden we've
years.
just got 90 million, dump it into every. It's not. It doesn't work like that because you still have 40 that you have to account for. So it's only 50 in capital. That's why I say you go another year
It's less
and
capital.
you
or it's
might
more
only
capital.
sell for 50.
But you
You're still not
amortize
far
more.
off in terms of the capital. You're at 30 if you sell for 50, 60, you get 40 capital. Like it's not a huge thing. It's just tougher to find a deal 1 year on going into a
Yes.
final
Well,
contract.
It's
than
not a
it
bad
is
idea
two.
though, Lucci.
That's
It's
my-
not a bad idea.
That's my biggest concern is that next year he's going to say, oh, you know what? I'm just going to stick it out another year and leave for free. And then we get royally screwed.
What's the bigger risk? Running this season without a top tier CB with the guys we have back there, or going into next year and maybe taking a little bit less money?
But the problem is, what if they can't get rid of him at all next year?
Then we play it out. You still have a whole year to deal with it.
See, this is the way I see it. I'm just going to go on a little rant. You sit him down this week whenever he's back from his vacation or whatever. You say, okay, you're going to re-sign a 1-year deal or not? And if he says no, because he's never really said no yet, they're going to talk about the plan, the future, what, where they want to go, this, that, whatever. If he still says no, then you got to move him. You have to.
Well, apparently the thing is that Juve was trying to bring that salary down a little bit, and he wanted the renewal or the release clause lowered.
Yes.
Which would have been roughly around this amount that Bayern's more or less agreed to, which means we wouldn't even have a say in it. So Juve is technically protecting their ass because if they agreed to it,
but why don't you just remove the release clause period and re-sign them for a year, and then you worry about it?
Man, him wanting that escape plan, he's not even gonna listen to one without a release clause. He's not even gonna listen to one without. Then that just gives Juve full control. He doesn't even want to give us that control. You know what I mean?
That's true.
So I don't see that. This is a crazy scenario Cherubini and Arriva Bene have to navigate. There's no way around it. Like, this is extremely tough. This Mercato was already super challenging for these guys.
Yeah.
That this whole Delict thing, massive. Mark B brings out a decent point that's saying if he stays, it's a huge distraction.
Oh, fair point. Fair point.
Man.
But still, you got to have replacements lined up.
Yes.
That's the only. We have too many spots.
But I think
that need filling back there.
You don't think if Bayern comes in with the offer that we want?
Well, here's the thing. Paul Pogba, and not to cut you off, Lucci, but Paul Pogba, we talked about this, just went through it with Man U. They didn't budge, and they didn't sell. Obviously, now they had him for like 3 years beyond when those problems arose. His numbers, statistically still, were good when he was playing. So amongst his years and his time there, even post issues with Mourinho and all this, and when all the talks of him leaving like every single summer, his numbers when he was in the lineup are still strong. So that story loomed across them like nonstop amongst all the other stories because they're a dumpster fire. But I don't know if that's still enough for me to push through 2 years of keeping this guy, even if his will is to leave at some point. Like, it's tough, man. Like, if we don't have the replacement, I don't think I'd pull the trigger, even if the money's there right now. I would rather just deal with it and say, you know what? You can't go until we're covered. And he's got to be a professional about it and play through it. And that gives us 2 years to sort it out. And maybe we don't have to. Maybe we don't need 2 years to sort it out. Maybe next summer we sort it out. But, I mean, him leaving on a free after 2 years would suck.
That's not good.
That would suck.
That would not be good.
But I don't know.
Maybe that's just there are risks no matter which plan you go with. It's just which pill does.
I think it comes down to this. Glad it's not me deciding.
Yes. Yep.
But do you think they've learned their lesson from the whole Dybala situation and not moving him earlier when he didn't want to resign?
I doubt it. I doubt that they've learned the lesson through that.
Raven says,
you
I
not?
would rather have distracted Delict than Milenkovic or Kimpembe.
Distracted players are not good players you want in the locker room. They're not players you want on the pitch. It gets messy. You see it in every sport, though.
But
It doesn't matter about their professionalism.
But I don't think that he's going to be as distracted as everyone's probably going to think that he will be. Delict's a different breed than all these other,
but so is
all
Ronaldo.
the other kids his age.
So is Ronaldo, and look at the situation that caused last year, and now it's causing again this year at Man U.
I'm not saying it can't happen and it won't happen, but I'm saying the likelihood's probably a little bit less. I think that he still will be a consummate professional.
Getting the Georg's comment here, and by the way, happy birthday again. Georg celebrated his birthday this week. Auguri, amico. If he does not renew, we won't get more than 50 million next summer. Again, just to show this scenario for everybody, 50 million next year means 30 in capital. 90 right now means 50 in capital. That's not a big, drastic change.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody think about this. 50 million next summer means 30 in capital roughly. 90 right now means 50 in capital if they even reach 90. So is it necessarily really worth it?
The problem with this, though, is that now Bayern's going to know Juve have lost pretty much all their leverage, and they'll either wait to sign him on a free or they'll just keep lowballing us because there's really nothing we can do.
Yeah,
and if that's the only team he wants to go to, then we're screwed that way too.
That's true. That's true.
Like I said, there are risks. There are risks no matter what.
It comes down to preference.
The risk I would rather have.
It's totally preference. Lucci wants the money. Lucci wants the money. I want that player. I want that protection. Especially at center back.
It's not that I don't want him. Let's clarify. I love the guy, but I just don't want.
We all want him to stay.
Yeah,
I think we all want him.
I just don't want to get screwed in the long run. That's my main concern.
Okay, the Delict thing's gonna be a crazy one, everybody. Like this one, pretty much was essentially the show. We have Pogba obviously set for Pogba Day today. It's exciting once these players start to arrive. We had to wait a long time for these moves to be official. You look around football and it feels like Mane was just like a day out of nowhere. And it's just like, yeah, here he is official on their website. And with us, hey, we got to be patient. We learned that through Locatelli. We learned that through Chiesa, everything. Just remain calm. It gets done. The Vlahovic thing was a nice surprise for us in January. Boys, I am shocked to hear of Zakaria's name being mentioned in reports of being offered amongst certain deals. I want to get your guys' thoughts on Zakaria being used in certain moves and how you feel about that. For me, he's a profile we very much need in the middle of the park, and I don't like hearing his name involved in Zaniolo deal or any of these deals. So one of the ones was in for the Zaniolo deal to bring that purchase price down. In my opinion, just take the loan with the obligation. If it's a matter of losing Zakaria and paying 25 on top or whatever to just make it a final sale for this season and not carry the balance into the next season, take the loan and obligation, but don't move Zakaria. You still have other guys that have to be moved ahead of him. So if it's not those names involved, just go loan and obligation and move on, right? What do you guys think?
100%.
Yeah.
He's one of the last ones I'm moving. For me, it's you got to keep the young guys. You got to keep Locatelli. Then honestly, in my pecking order, it would be Zakaria right after Locatelli. For me, I think Zakaria and his skill set is something we need that no other midfielder we have has. So that's why for me, I'd rather Artur, obviously. Rabiot would be second. McKinney would be third on my list because you can get good value for him. You know, you're making a good profit off that. And I don't know. He's a good player. I just don't know if he's going to get much better where he's going to be a game changer. He's going to be an influential midfielder for us. Like he can be easily replaced in my opinion. And I know some people are not going to like that, but sorry.
Zakaria,
The thing, I think I'm trying to think of the justification as to why Zach was even mentioned in a lot of those deals. I think the reason being is because we really didn't pay that much for him,
Exactly.
like at the end of the day. And I hate to refer to players like this because it makes them sound like, a piece of meat, but they're not. He still has value, and I think that his value probably increased over the last season despite the injuries and all that stuff. I think that he's a commodity in Serie A. So I think that that's the reason why he's mentioned. He probably has about more value than maybe McKennie. I'm surprised that McKennie wasn't mentioned just because of the value that he holds. I think that they're probably both about equal, I would say. Maybe
McKennie's a little bit more. Though.
Different player profiles, 100%. But I'm strictly thinking about like the business economics here. So I'm thinking that McKennie probably has a little bit more value because if you get McKennie, you tap into a whole different market. You have the United States and all that stuff. So blah, blah, blah. This is all a long-winded way of saying, no, I don't like the fact that Zakaria was linked with all those moves, and we should be holding on to him. I really want to see what kind of midfield like we could play around with, like Locatelli, Pogba, Zach. Yeah,
Zakaria is my shout for a breakthrough season.
I agree.
Yeah,
he's good defensively, actually physical, big guy. Like gets involved. Like that's who else is like that on our midfield.
He's good enough technically that he gives you a little bit of everything, but the physical presence and just his size.
See, that's what they hoped our Rabiot would be, but he's not. He's like a little fairy.
He's
a big
quick
fairy.
too. Like Zakaria is actually deceivingly quick. And when he makes those runs into the area last season, like
yes, exactly.
And we didn't see a big amount, unfortunately, with injury. And this is one of the things people bring up is like, is he going to give us a full season? There's a reason a lot of teams like Juve beat out quite a few teams to get Zakaria. Zakaria was a big surprise in January that had us all excited. We need to get behind this guy and get excited again. There's question marks here. Ron Rustano's asking, does anybody feel Pogba's going to give us a full Juve season? I'm not so sure any of the Juve players can give us a full season because we got this new training staff. Injuries were such a nightmare for Juve and have been for years now. Yep. I don't really know, but I almost feel like if we can sort out our depth, it'll be better for everybody. I swear our managers, regardless of being Allegri, Pirlo, I swear to God, the options off the bench have been so bad that they've just forced the same lineups because it was the only lineups they had faith in. And there might have been certain changes here and there or whatnot, but the best thing you can do is give a manager options. And we have to give Max options. No matter how anybody feels about Max Allegri, the one thing that was his greatest strength was the ability he had to change games off the guys he could use. Obviously, we had better options. Like, for instance, just taking one name, we have never had another guy even close to Lichtsteiner.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Lichtsteiner was a huge piece. And if I just take that one name and think back to how many key games Max said, you know what, screw this, I'm bringing Lichtsteiner in, and the game flipped. Okay. And Lichtsteiner was not a massive star or anything, but it was that option off the bench that we had that could come in and make that impact. And even if you go down historically, you want to drop into the 90s and start picking through names, you'll find a lot of those guys. Over the past few years, it just felt like we had barely 11. And sometimes even our main 11 was lacking so much where you're like, man, this lineup isn't balanced. I've been saying this even last year, regardless of how we feel about Allegri, you have to sort out this roster. So long-winded way of saying if Zakaria is not a problem by no means should he be involved in any kind of deals.
Mhm.
As far as some of the comments in the live about not being able to move guys like Arthur, Ramsey and whatnot, Ramsey's being bought out. So, there was a question about what's the latest in Ramsey's being bought out. Like, that's going to be it. The next time you see anything official from them, it'll be a farewell and the last one.
Yeah.
Thanks, Aaron.
Yeah, like it's done. In terms of Arthur, there are there's potential for a swap deal, but it ain't going to be a sale based on what he stands as.
Yeah.
If you could go back in time, do you still make that move for Pjanic? I still say yes.
I think so, eh?
Because you still have, but there's going to be a point where somebody wants Arthur. Like, Arthur's not, like Pjanic would have been dead end, and it was dead end. Like, Arthur still holds value. He doesn't hold the value he lands us in the book. Maybe not this year, but next year he could. So this year might be a little high. Another year amortizing, maybe, right? But it's tough. One piece of really, really good news is that Juventus may, regardless of his will and him wanting to stay around, might say, you know what, Sandro, you're going to be on the bench and not in the Champions League list.
Get out.
Thank God.
My God.
If you won't leave, do that. That's the bare minimum right there.
The problem is no one's going to want him, even if you try to move
no one's going to.
like,
So the thing is, whether they don't want to spend the money and buy him out right now, I understand, because you're already spending the money buying Ramsey out, whatnot. Yeah. At least they're being ruthless enough to say, we're done.
You're not playing.
You didn't want to leave. You didn't want to do it. You didn't want to work with us. We're done. A lot of the comments that came from this tweet that we put out, which was this report, and it came from Marcello Chirico, who is actually, a lot of people question his reliability. He is fairly credible, okay? If they do this, a lot of the comments in there from Juventini were saying, I really like this new ruthlessness from the management. So we're going to wrap things up here on how you guys feel so far about Cherubini and Arriva Bene. And, the biggest change, the biggest thing we needed was that stability and, get things moving in the right way. A lot of the main questions surrounding events for these last 2 seasons have been the project, the planning. Where are we going? I want to get your guys' thoughts on Cherubini and Arriva Bene. Do you finally see a plan, a strategy? How do you feel about it? Let's kick this one off with Cappuccino.
So, I mean, how could I put it into words? Well, one thing, you said it earlier, Al, they're sticking to their guns. Love that. Something that we have needed for a while. But back in January, I could see that they had a project laid out from the very beginning. It just, obviously, it takes a little bit of time, for, the wheels to start turning, but you can see it. You can see how they want to run the club. And I'm for it. I'm 100% for it. I think it's old school. I think that they're putting the club in a better position. And that is their main goal. So I am all for this new management type right here.
There you go, Lucci.
I just want
Cherubini, Arriva Bene, the project, the planning.
I want to point out Rob's.
No.
Dybala news. Yeah, that's
just wait.
Great,
just wait.
Great
just
comment,
wait.
Rob. Yeah, how can you hate them? They're doing everything we've wanted them, the management to do for years. They're finally getting rid of the players that don't belong here, that don't want to be here, that are overpaid, that don't perform up to but the team quality, the team standards. They're heading in the right direction. I don't think you can argue that they're not. They're bringing in players that fit the manager, his tactics, his style. Whether we think Allegri is the guy or not, that's a different story. But they're bringing in the right players, the players that want to be here, like Vlahovic, like Locatelli, possibly Zaniolo, Pogba. People say he had no other. I'm sure he had other options. He wanted to come back. Like, you want players that are going to perform for the team, for their teammates, for the club, for everything. So now it's not easy for them to get rid of some of these contracts, but they've done very well so far, and we'll see if they can continue down that path. Like moving Artur and Rabiot, Sandro is another one. It's not easy. It's not easy.
Pogba, medical is finished. Didn't pass.
What?
Did not pass medical.
Oh boy.
Just messing with you boys. It's all good. Pogba.
Oh, come on,
medical.
Al.
It's all good. It's finalized.
So unnecessary.
So Georg reserves his judgment for the management until August to judge team on paper. Joe Cappuccino, your face was priceless on that. Love it. So
You're the
boys,
worst, Al.
in terms of the management, it's hard to say. Like, the only move you could probably say they've gone wrong on was Moise Kean. But when CR left him with little to no time to really deal with, it's a tough one, right?
Yeah.
It is what it is. These guys haven't set a foot wrong, and I'm with them the whole way. I'm starting to see them move in the right direction, which is addressing the needs. This is the biggest thing. We've made signings over the past few years that you question why we brought that player in. Was it a position we needed?
Yeah.
Was it? So right now, with the guys they brought in already, the guys they're looking at, it makes sense. It's like, okay, yeah, we need a guy at this position. We need a guy at this position. The fullback one, I still have question marks, and that's based on, Quadrado, I think, Danilo, the DeCilio re-signing. Are we selling Luca Pellegrini, which hasn't been moved right now? There's a lot of question marks at fullback. So right now, I need to see what their plan is there.
Yeah.
Because that one's the big question mark for me. Rob brought up Dybala and wants Dybala news. So Dybala news.
I love Rob.
My men's rec team has actually just signed Paulo Dybala for and Antuna is just coming over today, and we're gonna sign the papers. So it'll be great. I said, hey, we need a guy for about 5 games a year, so Dybala's coming to join my men's team. It's fantastic. We got him a job at a dealership. We'll wash cars on the side.
He's going to be your backup, right, Al?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Buddy, I'm on 11 goals and 7 helpers in like 12 games. He ain't taking me out of the lineup. Let's go.
Love it.
Let's go. So, had a little fun there. I like the live. Everybody worried about the Pogba thing. Pogba's good. Don't worry. Just messing with you guys. So, the videos are out. Him meeting there. A ton of fans at J Medical, too. That was insane for Pogba. I still say poor Di Maria got the shaft on that one, being so close to him, because he's equally like a big signing for Juventus this year. So things are cooking. Wheels are in motion. We've got a lot to still look forward to. What is the news on Zaniolo coming in from Aldo? We kind of covered it a little bit earlier. It is slated that Roma is okay to drop to about 40-45. Look for a loan with an obligation. So 1-year loan, probably about 10 mil, and then the purchase price beyond that at be at 30-35 mil. Yeah. No players involved. Apparently Roma not interested in the guys that we're willing to move. Get Zakaria's name out of there, okay? But the team is filling in nicely. I want to see a fullback. I want to see one fullback added, though. Delict, this Delict one is a tough one, everybody. So we wait to see what Cherubini and Arriva Bene decide on this. We also wait to see. I'm not saying it's dead in the water on Koulibaly. There is a chance. I DM'd Paolo Nomolo and spoke with him about Koulibaly, and I said, in your opinion, is there a shot for Juventus at Koulibaly? He says, there's a shot, but it's very, very difficult. He says, but, oh yeah, there's a shot. So take everything you hear through the Mercato with a grain of salt. Ton of stuff happening, but the names you're hearing and Juve targeting are the right ones. Bremer, I see Bremer in the comments to all our YouTube videos day in, day out. I truly believe Bremer is not an option for Juventus.
I don't think that he's an option.
He's got his agreement with Inter. I think it's a matter of time between Torino and Inter to find a deal. Everybody's getting their hopes up because apparently Torino is looking at Ranocchia from Juve and saying, hey, maybe that's the ticket that can unlock it. Maybe, but a lot of the reports are Juve went and hijacked Gatti from Torino. So they're going to be salty about that. And it's Juve and Torino. So we see what it is. We see what happens. But the team's cooking. It's on paper, it's already shaping up quite nicely. So we wait to see. But the Dybala thing makes me laugh. Rob, you make me laugh. Bernardeschi ended up finding a team before Dybala.
My boy.
My God.
Getting his jersey too.
Right?
What a world.
God.
What a world. Everybody in the live, you guys have been fantastic. Joe and Luch, always an absolute pleasure. You guys enjoy your weekends. We've got the Austrian Grand Prix tomorrow. Okay, Ferrari sitting second and third spot after qualifying. Let's hope for some strategy there, eh? Jesus.
Please.
Woo.
Please.
Let's go.
Needs to happen.
But everybody, as always, like the video while you're here. Subscribe if you're new here. I'll keep you in tune with all the news videos. Go enjoy the videos. Pogba wrapping up the medical. No, he did not fail. Okay, he passed. And everybody have a great weekend. Been an absolute blast. Till next time, Fino alla fina. Forza Juve. Enjoy Pogba Day and your weekends. Let's go. Ciao.